bada bing, bada boom. All right, welcome, welcome. Back again, once again, time and time again. Excuse me for the tardiness. Had a little bit of technical difficulties, but we are back, just as usual. And it's not too big of a deal because the market is closed anyway. So let's get right to it. Monday, Wednesdays, Fridays at market close, we'll be doing a live stream somewhere in between 5:30 and 6:30. Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays. Go ahead and make sure you are subscribed. Turn the post notifications on so you do get notified anytime I do go live or post educational video, something you can learn from. So make sure you're taking advantage of the free game. But with that all aside, let's get right to it. We had, starting with XAU USD on the monthly time frame. The monthly has now closed below the area, broken and closed below the area. So we wanted to see this area used as support once, twice, thrice, be used as support one more time. But the market's closed below it. So now what we can look for is the market to continue the trend that it's been in. So it's been creating lower lows and lower highs. We can just continue to look for that. So some sort of retracement on the weekly could put us in a nice situation for the most common pattern in the market, which we do have on the daily. Break structure to the downside, come back perfectly, retest previous structure support, now acting as resistance. You could just look for a continuation to the downside. Of course, that's what we said on Wednesday. I'm waiting for this market as well. I'm leaving these on here, man, to let you know we didn't call these out. We want to see the retracement back up into this area. What do we get? A few days later, a retracement back into this area. I just want to see the market continue trend with the move to the downside. So be on the lookout for that. Going into next week, XAG USD silver. If we look at it on the monthly time frame, now what can we see? This monthly candle is really rejecting previous structure resistance once, twice, support, not really used as support here, but it is starting to reject from some of these areas down here at these lows. The market is starting to make a move to the upside, coming to retest previous structure support that should now act as resistance until broken through. But we could possibly see more continuation on this market going into next month to the upside. If we look at it on the weekly, you can see we are starting to get some rejections from this area. Could create sort of a triple bottom, inverted head and shoulders almost. We did have, of course, I'm going to speak about it, M formation. Called it out on the weekly, wanted to see it complete at the neckline, and then from there wanted to see the continuation to the downside, but we have been rejected with this current weekly candle close as it is right now. So there could be a possibility we could see a rejection from previous structure resistance now acting as support. So keep that in mind. I know it sounds basic and I say it over and over and over, but really understand that and it will help your trading. Did we go through the daily? Excuse me. Dropping down on the daily time frame, what can we identify? We still need to see some breaker structures before we can start to look for any opportunities. So if we start to get breaking some structure to the upside going into next week, there could be a possible opportunity for a further continuation to the upside. Gbp Usd platinum, some of the same things. Correlating pairs, previous structure support, acted as support once, acted as support twice. We are starting to reject from this area, making a move up, retesting previous structure support, now turned resistance. over in here, we are starting to get rejected. If we drop down on the weekly time frame, what can we identify? Last week or the week before last, we wanted to see a move to the upside coming out of this area. I guess the candle was somewhere up above this area. I want to see a rejection and continuation, since that's what the market was doing, breaking structure to the upside. But since then, we've gotten a break back down below the structure, the close, and then we've currently just retested a previous structure that should act as support resistance right over here. That did act as resistance. Once broken to the upside, should act as support, but did not, and has currently been rejected to the downside, acting as resistance. But if we do drop down to the daily time frame, what can we identify? We can see that this area right in here is pretty much the area you would need to see broken to the upside before we start to look for continuations. But as it is right now, it's set up perfectly for a nice and easy break structure to the downside, come back, retest previous structure broken, and then a continuation in the direction of the trend. So currently, as it is right now, there's a continuation to the downside. But if we're looking at all the other correlated pairs, there could be a possible break back above structure and a continuation if we do look for that going into next week. So we could have a possible break above structure and a continuation. But then as well, the way the market is now, you just got to play it like you see it. US oil, if we look at the monthly time frame, if we look at the monthly, we have previous structure resistance, wanted to see acted as support. This candle did close, break and close below the structure. We did not want to see it break below. And if we drop to the weekly, we can see that this area right in here that was broken to the downside is starting to get rejected back down to the downside when retested from underneath. So it is acting as resistance, was acting as resistance over here. I wanted to see it act as support. We had a few candles. This candle rejected a little bit. This candle was almost here, but this broke through. And then from there, we've had the retracement, and then sort of what looks like could be a possible continuation going into next week. And if we drop down to the daily, you can see that this is almost really picture perfect. Nice and easy break of structure, come back for the retracement. And just want to see a continuation to the downside for a lower low to be created. That is US oil. Just look for further continuation. Let's go over Euro USD. Euro USD on the monthly, we are starting to reject and retrace, exhaust, correct ourselves a little bit on the monthly. We have been pushing down for a while, very aggressively, especially on the monthly, gaining a lot of ground. If you look back, making really moves from these highs all the way down is almost a straight shot. There's about 2 or 3 candles not related to the move in this whole thing, so that's pretty amazing to see. If we look at the weekly time frame, you can see that we are broken below some weekly structure that we could possibly see used as more structure when retested. Could see it acting as resistance and further continuation to the downside as well. Hold on. You know, I got to talk about my target line that I've had out here for weeks. I might go ahead and finally remove it. It's been on multiple videos. But if we do drop down to the daily time frame, excuse me. We got it popping in here. Oh, why didn't y'all say nothing? Now we got it popping. Now we getting it. But if we do drop down to the daily time frame, you can see that this is setting up almost nicely as well, almost picture perfect. I would like to see maybe if it does want to reach maybe a deeper retest and then continue down, so maybe a possible wick. Going into next week, a lot of these pairs may do something like that and then continue in this direction. But as you see, we had this pointed out. We wanted to see the retracement back up in this area somewhere before the continuation to the downside came. That's exactly what we are starting to get. So we can just prepare ourselves for further continuation, just the way the market is. Now, if we do break above, we would start to get some stuff like this. Excuse me. That could be possible as well, but we would need to see several levels broken before we start to look for buy opportunities on this market. Gbp Usd made a push, retested areas that I don't think it's ever been in before. So if we scroll back now, we are in the low of the lows, but we did come all the way down here. And guess what we printed? I spoke about it before. This candle here, this pattern, this candle is a whole pattern within itself. If you look at it, we have a long wick to the downside, and then we have a body that is about half or less of the wick length. And what that represents is a push down. The market had pushed down, and then when it created the wick is the retracement. And since the candle still closed bearish, so since we still closed bearish, this is the candle that you see, and then this area is the wick that you see. But if we drop down on lower time frames, it's just a simple impulse to the downside, retracement, where we can look for a continuation to the downside for the market to continue market structure. So this candle, we want to see the next candles fill in the wick of the candle, which is at least come retest the lows one more time. Now let me show you what I'm talking about. On the weekly, you can see we had the push to the downside, and we're starting to get the retracement. But you don't see these candles on the monthly. You just see the wick all the way back up to this area. But if you look at the pattern, we're getting set up quite nicely for just simply the most common pattern in the market. Impulse to retracement, retesting some structure, and then a continuation in the trend. In this case would be a lower low. So we had a push to the downside. Thanks, Siri. We had a push to the downside, and we're starting to get the retracement. Could possibly see it come back to this area and then a continuation to the downside as well. But Gbp USD is just been selling off for a while. So until we see several levels of structure broken, I'm talking about probably these in here, it wouldn't be in your best interest to look for buy opportunities. It's not the highest probability. I would wait for possible sell opportunities until we start to break some levels of structure. Then buy opportunities obviously then would be valid, because structure would be confirming that direction as well. But if we look at AUD USD from the monthly time frame, pushing to the downside very, very aggressively. Now this monthly candle is closed below all the structure as well. If we look at the weekly, we're just pushing to the downside very aggressively still. These are very momentous candles. And if we do look at the daily time frame, you can see we are starting to get, we wanted to see a deeper retracement, but we are starting to get the retracement and continuation to the downside as it is right now. So just real simple, break below structure, come back. Just want to see a continuation to the downside for a lower low. Just the most common pattern in the market. Now from here, it would be interesting to see if we continue in this trend. But that is the possible play, just going based off market structure. You don't want to make it complicated. Make it simple, but effective. USD Cad monthly time frame. On this month, we've exploded to the upside. We've had a lot of news, a lot of things come out, especially towards the end of the month, to help propel that. But like I've been saying, is we've just been creating higher lows on this market on its way up. We just want to see that continue. Once we got the break out, wanted to see the retracement come back, retest previous structure, and then see the continuation to the upside. Just simple market structure, the most common patterns in the market, keeping it simple. If we look at the weekly time frame, you can see we had a nice and easy W formation here. Had it come back, complete at the neckline, a 80 to 90 completion rate on these patterns. And then from there, we were in a nice situation to see the market continue in trend, and that it did, and exploded to the upside, creating these very, very aggressive weekly candles. And then on the daily time frame, you can see we did have a move to the upside, the retracement. Then there's possible continuation going in, finishing up next week, next month, the next trading day, looking for the completion to the upside. And then from there, you're just looking for the market to continue to behave in the way that it has. So if we do get a further impulse, we can look for the retracement and then another continuation to the upside. Just simple market structure. We got NZD USD on the monthly. If we do look at the monthly, we are starting to break below some monthly structure and close below as well. So next month, there will be a new monthly candle. If we look at the weekly, very aggressively pushing to the downside. There have been no retracement candles as of yet. You can expect that on the weekly as well. On the daily, you can see that we did have the move to the downside. And a lot of these pairs are in an area of previous structure. Ooh, excuse me. I told you this is usually the last thing that I do. So a lot of these pairs are at previous structure right now. It's easy just to wait for the continuation to the downside if you're not already in this move, and then just wait for the market to continue to behave the way that it has. But there's also a possibility that if it does happen, we would need to wait for several levels of structure to be broken before we start to look for buy opportunities. Once again, we're just calling it out. Same thing over and over and over and over and over. This is USDCHF. We've had a move to the upside on the monthly, breaking structure, coming back for a retracement, retesting previous structure, resistance now acting as support. We just want to see a continuation to the upside for a higher high to be created. One of the most powerful moves is a TMCP, the most common pattern on the monthly. That is exactly what we're getting. So with that information, we can look for a continuation to the upside. If we look at the weekly time frame, we've had a W formation on the weekly, the 80 to 90 completion rate on these patterns that we want to see completed at the neckline. We got exactly that. And once we are completed at the neckline, we're in a good situation for what? Trend continuation. So we've had the impulse breaking some more levels of structure. We come back, retest previous structure, and then we want to see a continuation to the upside for a higher high. We've gotten that as well on the weekly. And if we do look at the daily, just keeping it very simple, the same things over and over and over. We've had a nice and easy move up. We did end up having an M pattern up here. So you want to see what? A completion at the neckline. From there, you are in a situation to look for the trend continuation. But from there, we're not just blindly jumping in the trade. You want to see what the market is doing, waiting for the candles to actually close. Once you saw that the candles have closed bullish, you can't be looking for the move to the downside, especially once you break structure to the upside. And from there, now we're in the overall market trend. Higher high, higher low. Higher high, it's higher than this high. And now we're looking and expecting there to be a higher low. And then we're going to look for the continuation in market to continue to do the same thing that it's been doing, man, until it shows us otherwise. So now that we've gotten the daily close and we're starting to get the impulse to the upside, we could possibly look for continuation, breaking structure, creating a higher high, And then after that, just a simple retracement and more continuations for the market to continue doing the same thing that it's been doing until shown otherwise. Now we can hop over to USDJPY. If we're looking at the monthly time frame pushing to the upside, we did close above some structure on the monthly. So interesting to see what the next month's candle will look like. If we look at the weekly time frame, you can see we are pushing to the upside very aggressively. But we do have nice and easy W formation that we would like to see completed at the neckline. But we are starting to slow down in a bit of momentum as we look at these candles. We are starting to get some slower momentum to where we could possibly see some retracement coming before we see continuations on this market. But if we do look at the daily time frame, we are up at previous structure resistance once, twice, thrice, acting as resistance another fourth time, and then we are starting to just sit in that area. Like we said previously, we need to see a strong break above this area, then a retracement, and then a continuation is what we would look for after that retracement. So need to see a clear defined break above structure, and then on the retracement we could look for a continuation to the upside if the market wants to do that, and then vice versa as well. We could see a possible just retracement, exhaustion, correction on this market, and then the continuation to come later in the week of next week. So I think that is all the USD majors. We can quickly go over BTC. I know it is the weekend, but if we look at Bitcoin, you can see on the monthly, previous structure resistance. Want to see it acted as support over here. We are starting to get the rejection. Now this candle has 21 minutes until it closes. So wait, how is that true? Oh well. But on the weekly, we have 2 days and 1 hour. Wait, what? Okay. But we are starting to come into this area on the weekly. Previous structure support. Could see it acting as possible support one more time. We could look for the continuation to the upside if we start to get the break of structures. But as it currently is right now, we are set up in post retracement. You want to see the next impulse to the downside. We are starting to get rejected. That is the only reason why we talk about the possible move to the upside. But if we do get a break below this area right in here, we could look for continuations to the downside, retesting previous structure. So if we did get the explosion to the upside, we could see a possible move like this, excuse me, in advance. But that's really much it, man. I hope everybody's having a profitable day. Ooh, excuse me. On and off the charts. Monday, I'm gonna try out. Oh, excuse me. Monday, I'm gonna try 3. So around 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 3 to 4 p.m. I'm gonna try to go just a little bit earlier. Still be the same things. Just be hopping on here, going over some pairs, whatever you call out in the charts, or any questions that you have, just answering that. Just real chill, man. I just want to create some sense of community over here on this channel and provide some help, feedback to whatever I can do to help people in their trading journey. So that's what I'm here for. But we're still going to keep up with Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Next week, I'm going to try out from 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time to 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, somewhere around in there. We'll hop back on the live streams. But with all that said, have a safe weekend. Be safe. And we'll be back on Monday. Peace out. Appreciate y'all.